Hello everybody. Today we're going to talk about important factors when considering an energy upgrade to your historic or vintage home here in the Northwest. My arena is historic homes. That's all I'm doing is restoring historic windows. I'm dealing with historic wall cavities. And what I've noticed over the years is that heat, as it convects through the walls, really does preserve a lot of those materials.
Very much.
So my question is with historic homes, is there a way that we can do, an energy upgrade without affecting the longevity of those walls, or like siding, which a lot of people don't want to remove?
Right. Yeah, it's probably one of the most important questions about that, because old drafty leaky buildings that we add a lot of heat to were pretty well preserved because of that exact reason. If you bring air in or the air leaves the building and it's moving at a good clip, it dries the building and the building materials. They hold up quite well. If there's a concentrated leak somewhere, you'd pull a window and go, oh, there's a failure right there. It had a bad leak, a gutter that kind of dripped into one spot. But you didn't see catastrophic failure. And so kind of what happens today is that if we change the balance, so let's just use that as an example. If energy flowing across the wall helps to dry the building and it's found its equilibrium, it's good shape. But in order for me to be more comfortable and to improve the house, I'm going to change that. So as I change the rate of drying, I thereby have to change the rate of wetting. So if the wetting rate is slowing down or staying at the same and the drying rate goes down, I'm going to have a problem, right? So I'm going to have to change the rate at which it gets wet by improving the building enclosure. So every time you make a modification to the thermal performance, you better be careful with how it was getting wet before. Is there window leaks? So if you look at a building and say, I'm going to do a retrofit here, and that gutter right there is dumping right on the window.
That's right.
And I've got a problem there, so I better fix the gutter and the foundation where it's got wet water and the basement's damp before I make some other changes, because I could put the building at risk. We've some houses in colder climates where the contractor would blow insulation in the wall cavities, and a couple of years later the studs rotted out at the bottom. Well, the old house leaked energy back and forth. It was fine. Moisture condensed on the new cold sheathing, as you said, reaching its dew point there, dripping to the bottom, and all of a sudden new water got introduced that wouldn't have been there before. It doesn't mean not to do the work, but it sure lets us know that historic buildings are there for a reason. If they've made it 80 or 90 years, we better step back and say, so what allowed it to survive? And then what am I about to do to make a possible change that could either adversely affect that, or do I not do it at all?
So you're saying reducing the moisture introduction into that wall cavity from the exterior.
Well, and it could be from the interior. So let's say that I've got the wind blows on the house. This is called the windward and the leeward side, right? One side's got air, wind blowing in. It picks up the moisture that I gave out, the cooking did, and it heads out the other way. So if it takes the moisture out of the building, it's going to now hit the sheathing and condense there. Well, the old house had that happening all the time, but the house is either really dry or the energy flow is pretty fast. Now if I take the building and I have less heat flow, but I still have that moisture leaving, does that mean I should still seal the leaks in the building on the inside? So I can do a good job on the outside preventing liquid water from leaking in, which is the worst one. Rain getting in your building, that's a problem. But I also have the interior occupants load. So that's why if we manage ventilation, you can imagine you've done retrofits where people say, I did some retrofits and my windows are sweating.
That's right.
So you go, I just changed the balance. I went from lots of air leakage, meant the house was drier, to less air leakage means that moisture stays there longer. So now it on the windows is also telling you that anywhere in the building that's at that window's temperature or cooler has the same thing on it.
And that's where you get your condensation.
Exactly. So if I insulate my walls, now my sheathing is the same temperature as those windows, which means I can't see that moisture and I can see that one. So where in my building could that cold surface exist? And sealing around the outlets and putting some sealant at the bottom of the wall might be important to reduce the air leakage. We can check that by using things like blower doors. And to determine, you can turn the blower on, smoke little spots, and see if the air is leaking. Go around and make sure that they're not part of the contribution of a failure.
Great. Thank you so much. That was awesome.
Thank you, sir.